Hi, I'm Yizhu, and welcome to Green Law, a green system to improve air quality in Zag Island in Detroit. So I will start with an introduction to Detroit's problem. So Detroit has several severe air pollution problems, and it was ranked high in worst air quality cities. And in Michigan's top 25 polluted zip codes, Detroit has five zip codes. So besides this, extreme heat appears more frequent these years. So as a result, people who live here suffer from health problems because of polluted air and heat stroke. Main problems are coming from the impervious land, lacking of tree canopy, high emissions from factories, and other kinds of pollutants. So my goal is to develop a new green system there and create a breathable future. So based on maps of industrial land use, impervious land, heat island, road polluted conditions, top 5 polluted zip codes in Detroit, and tree canopy distribution, I choose that island as my design site because it has complex problems and it has lots of space types which can be a prototype for other kinds of designs in the future. So its green system will begin from the Black Island, and I hope in the next 30 years it can expand to improve some hotspot districts, and in the next 50 years, I hope it can be used in the whole Detroit. So why use a plan system and how to use it? I first found some paper talking about a plan's function. So it has two main ways to improve air quality. The first one is deposition and the other one is dispersion. So the deposition means pollutants can go through roots and their leaves will catch the pollutants, and after precipitation, pollutants will be washed down to the soil and be cleaned. So dispersion means different heights of plants can dilute air pollutants and reduce its concentration to a low percentage, which is not harmful for respiration. So it means deposition is to clean air pollutants and dispersion is to dilute air pollutants. So based on these two types, deposition requires big canopy trees, hairy or waxy leaves, and the combination of conifers and deciduous trees to extend its leaf season. And for the dispersion process, it requires mixed height plants, changeable planting space, and high porosity plants. So most pollutants in this site are coming from pointed sources like factories and mobile sources like cars and roads. So based on this information, I found a paper introducing different trees to address specific pollutant types. I choose these several types, and they are all native to Michigan. So take sulfur dioxide as an example. So if the site is close to this pollutant source, we can use more plants from the sulfur dioxide section to address these pollutants. So this process is similar to using other pollutants like ozone, carbon monoxide. So my design strategy comes from the dispersion and deposition concept. It has two phases. In the first stage, I will focus on cleaning the air, which means a mitigation phase, and at this time, I will plant more trees for deposition. And when the air quality reaches a good balance, it will go into an adaptation stage, which means disperse air pollutants into large space like the Detroit River. And in the adaptation phase, I will consider more about how to restore original habitats and in the future maybe provide human activities in that island. So for the planting pattern, at first it has some existing trees and then I plant some new trees which contain both deciduous trees and conifer trees. After 7 years, existing trees die and some new trees may reach lifespan and maybe also die because of the pollutants here. And at this time, air quality is also good and stable. So I will remove these dead plants. And for the next dispersion stage, I want to plant new trees to form a row to guide the dilution direction. And at this time, also add some more species diversity, especially in wetlands and woods boundaries. and I think more about how to use these two strategies in different space prototypes, and I divide them into five types: large space, narrow space, waterfront area, street space, and chemical pie area. So large space is area like small island, big vacant lots, and big open space. So in large space, I will grow some new trees and remove dead plants, and then add diversity. So as the last step is to add more human circulations to provide maybe outdoor activities ground. So for the narrow space, this is a space like inland area, also space between buildings and some roadside area. I want to demolish some old buildings and add some biophilic elements like vertical gardens, roof gardens to these new buildings. And for the waterfront area, first I plant some new trees and then expand it and considering its rising sea level, uh, in the last step is to create wetland zones like deep marsh area and a tall swamp and lowland hardwood swamp. Next, for the street areas, I try to expand two sides of the roads to add more diversity and also have more mixed height plants. So last one is for the chemical pie area. I will remove part of chemicals and add plants to remediate the environment, and then add plants on top of the new ground. So the last one is about for different space types, planting space also differ between deposition and dispersion process. So take narrow space as example. In the deposition process, it requires plants with moderate density, and while in the dispersion process, it requires plants planting in a wide space density. So for this site, I find some data about its surrounding pollutant types for the particle matter, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. So I use them to guide the plant selections. So and there's a context graphic showing the space types in that island. So in the western areas, the green pattern shows the existing woods. So I plant more trees which are suitable to live in the large space and are good for addressing uh, the air pollutant and then turn it into a larger space woods. And the yellow pattern shows the location of chemical parts, and I make them into a remediation area and plant more trees around them. And then there's also a large area of industry site. So and it's close to the Detroit River waterfront. So I add some trees in the narrow space like between the buildings to improve the environment. And for the place close to the river, I try to think of the waterfront area to plant more trees that are suitable to live in wetland. So you can see there's also some in the middle of the site there are some railway trails. Uh, right right is my side plan. You can see the main direction of these plants are concentrated and clean them in the middle area of that island, and then guide them to dilute into different directions. So for next several pages, I will show how it looks like in the design. So first is the waterfront space, and the left is the after design effect, and the right is the before design. And you can see there's a hardwood swamp as the behind of the marsh zone. So next one is a chemical pile space. You can see on the top of the chemical pile, I make it into remediation area and also plant some new trees around it to improve the air quality. So next one is the large space area. You can see on the right there's a large open space, and there are also some existing trees there. And I on the left, after the design, I plant some new trees to add more woods to improve the environment. So the last one is the narrow space, and I choose the space between the railway trail and the factory buildings. And you can see I have some new plants and also some vertical plantings to enrich the environment. So that's all my designs. Thank you for your listening.